A monster Monday for young Red Sox prospects. It's another edition of Red Sox Now. I'm your host, Mike Antonellis, and as those old school DJs say, happy Tuesday to you. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe. We have noticed, all right, that people are watching, no comments. We've seen you. You haven't liked, subscribed, or comment. Just kidding. If you do it, I'll be happy. Also follow me on X at the Radio Mike. You can get a link to all my social media on there. All right, so Marcelo Meyer, who has roots in Mexico, he talked about it on the pregame show Monday night with Tom Karen on Nesson. Every Christmas he spends in Mexico. He's from Chula Vista, California. His grandparents live there. He spends Christmas in Mexico, and he said when they got to Monterey and they got this huge welcome in the clubhouse, he felt like it was Christmas time all over again. Well, he certainly did not disappoint on Monday night. An unbelievable, and the exhibition win that was 10-1, it kind of felt like a hybrid in between a exhibition game and a real game because the Monterey team had their go-to team out there, and it was pretty cool to watch. But how about Meyer? He had a home run, 5 RBIs, and he had a hard line-out as well. This is a guy that has been hurt the last couple of years, but it's so exciting to see this. Lou Merloni touched on it last night. We know the injury concerns with Trevor Story, but now with what the Red Sox have built up, foundation, we're going to get to that later in the show, there is kind of an ease, just the swing of Meyer, the way he's handled himself. Dave O'Brien said it last night. He just looks like a big leaguer. If something were to happen, last year there were some concerns about moving to Rafael to short. Luckily, they didn't have to worry because he played solid. But now if something were to happen long term, you've got a pretty good guy waiting in the wings. And Marcelo Meyer has just been so much fun to watch. A guy that was called up last year while I was in Worcester, and he was called up with the big three, but was immediately put on the injured list. And a huge night in Mexico. So great to see with a guy that has roots there. Speaking of the Woo Sox, I'm one of the radio and TV broadcasters for Worcester. We open up the AAA season on Friday against the Syracuse Mets, and guess what? Meyer, Roman Anthony, and a host of others are going to be on that club. Red Sox open up Thursday against the Texas Rangers, and we cannot wait for many reasons to see this guy. How about this? Kristian Campbell out of Georgia Tech. This was outstanding. One thing that I love that we're seeing now for Major League Baseball, I love when they have a hidden camera in the manager's room, and they show you when that manager tells the player, you've made it, or you're going to be the opening day starter. Or, I know a few years ago, I forget what team, I think it was the Dodgers that did this. They had the hidden camera when the guy from AAA was coming up for the first time and walking through that big league clubhouse for the first time and seeing his reaction. I love that stuff that Major League Baseball has implemented more behind the curtain. But how about Campbell? He boarded the Red Sox team charter to Mexico on Sunday. First time he's been out of the United States. And Alex Cora had a pop quiz for him. Could Campbell name other MLB players that went to Georgia Tech? And we know some of the greats. Nomar, number 5. Nomar Garciaparra, Jason Varitek, also Mark Teixeira, Kevin Brown, Jay Payton, Charlie Blackmon. But Nomar and Varitek, former Red Sox players. And he was really good on this. But Cora said, oh, by the way, you missed one yourself. That's how he broke the news to Kristian Campbell, who has really, I think, done a nice job handling some big league adversity, albeit spring training games. But still, when you're a young player, he's only 2 years removed from Georgia Tech. When you're playing in spring training for Kristian Campbell, you're not grounding out and going, oh, it's just spring training. Who cares? No, every at-bat means something. And you do. I know this is going to sound weird. You want to see guys struggle. You really do, because you want to see how they handle coming out of it. His at-bats got better and better, had a good approach these last few weeks. I've harped on this all the time. The one big thing, though, for Alex Cora, who was a former very good defensive infielder, is that defense. If they didn't think he could handle second base, he wouldn't be up there. They're not going to compensate defense for offense, certain parts, all right? And up the middle, you've got to be strong. And if you have a guy there you don't think is reliable, you can't do it. Great story, though, and awesome stuff, the way Alex Cora announced that. I hope you enjoyed the stuff of Richard Fitz. He continues to dominate. Another great trade made by Chaim Bloom. Fitz and Greg Weissert for Alex Verdugo, who's no longer around, and he dominated last night. Part of the depth situation the Red Sox have. Think about this. The way the Red Sox pitching has been the last few years, do you think that they could be 3 starters on the injured list and be able to make out a rotation? Let's not just beat up on the Red Sox, though. There are teams right now. We could go look, right? That's a good project for you to do today. Go look. How many teams could survive 3 guys? They might get through it, but this is an interesting guy. What will happen? And I don't like to play this game because we know what can happen. You know, if he does well and then these guys are all hell, it never works that way. This is someone to look out for. I love his stuff. I love his confidence. I love that he's changed his repertoire. He's throwing harder. He had another great game last night with 6 scoreless innings, and he will take the ball as the number 4 starter for the Red Sox, officially named number 4. He dominated on Monday in Monterey. By the way, on this Tuesday, there'll be another exhibition game tonight. The Red Sox will be off. They have an optional workout in Texas on Wednesday, and then they play at 4 p.m. our time on Thursday with Garrett Crochet on the mound. You know the Red Sox plus odds to win that game with Crochet? I know the game's on the road. I like those odds. And we can't wait. We cannot wait for Thursday. All right, finally, you see that below. Foundation was built for a strong future. What does that all mean? Well, let's first of all revisit the trade deadlines. All right? So the last few years, I know people were upset and criticized the Red Sox for not making those moves to go over the top. Well, there's always answers to those questions. Why did that happen? Well, you know, I have the luxury in Worcester, and in the 29 years that I've been in baseball, I have access to a lot of scouts that I've become friends with, and I ask them questions off the record. Trading at the deadline has become almost impossible. Why? Because teams are going nuts on what they asked in return. They want crazy return. I mean, it's been hard to get Double-A starting pitching prospects nowadays. Teams won't get rid of it. So why did the Red Sox have trouble during those deadlines? I think you've seen it all spring training. The teams that everyone wanted, and scouts told me this, Meyer, Anthony, Teal, which they did trade. But Meyer and Anthony were pretty much in every trade, and the Red Sox said no. They held their ground, all right? They took some grief at the deadlines, but aren't you happier that they held on to those guys? I sure am. Building a foundation. Let's revisit Chaim Bloom, and I think Craig Breslow has done a great job as we go right into Breslow team. I know we've gone nuts about the spending. Why haven't they gone crazy spending? I think if you look at it on the surface, the Red Sox have built up this team better foundation-wise without going nuts spending. And then it took them into an offseason where they could fill it in with a couple of big signings. They could give Bregman the $40 million because their team, foundation-wise, is solid. Look at the pieces they've picked up. Campbell was a compensation pick for Xander Bogaerts. You look at David Hamilton, you look at Richard Fitz, you look at Abreu, you look at Connor Wong. They have guys that are major players that are on this club from being patient, from making really good trades, for not giving up a lot. Now the question is, and they got to deliver. And I think this year, this offseason, is when they said, listen, we've now built this club to a point we think if we bring in a few guys, we have a chance to really win it, which they did. Bregman, Crochet. You got a solid third baseman. Crochet is an ace, and I still love the Chapman move because of the experience in that bullpen and the way that they've built up the starting depth. I want to hear your opinion, your comments, your takes. They can be hot. They can be cold. We want to hear you on Red Sox Now. Make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. I'm Mike Antonellis. Again, follow me on X at The Radio Mike. Have a great Tuesday. Let's go Red Sox in Mexico, and we'll talk to you again on Wednesday.